So you see, Jesus saying to his Father, what do you mean you're going down here? You can't see from here? I thought you were omnipotent, omnipresent, and omni-everything. Anybody ever heard this talked about before? Of course you haven't. Why would we? We just read and read. Oh, yup. Instead of saying, wait a minute. These are prefigurements, and they're things that God is honoring man, his creation. I'm going to go down there. See, the implication, at least here to me, with the Incarnation is God knows. He definitely knows in heaven. It's not a matter of him not knowing what's going on. But he comes down. He knows by becoming human. He knows humanity, and every one of us in this room, and anybody who listens to this, and anybody who's praying and seeking God, knows God, the incarnate Christ, comes to know what we know, to experience it and to know it. We just can't say to him, you don't know what it's like. It's like, oh, yes, I do. Actually, I knew what it was like before I came, but now you know that I know what it's like because I experienced it. I got slapped. I heard the insults. I heard people talking behind my back. I didn't need God ears to do that. I heard it. The whole thing. I experienced what you experience. One of the points I want to make today is just that the Incarnation, it's task-oriented. We're not human doings, though. We're human beings. But the Incarnation is task-oriented. There's a work and a word that is at the center of why the Incarnation, these representative of God's wills. You could almost, if you want to, we won't go there, but in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, when Paul talks about the new creation and everything, and he calls us ambassadors, I don't know how much you know about an ambassador, but in Jesus' day, an ambassador, when the king sent an ambassador, he went forth with all the authority. When he walked in a room, it was like the king walked in the room. It's a bit like our ambassadors today. They go to foreign countries, and they represent the United States of America. They represent the president. They represent us. They go, and when the ambassador walks in, they know they're not dealing with Charlie. They are dealing with the United States of America, and when that guy opens his mouth, it's like the president speaking. So be careful how you treat an ambassador. And Paul calls us ambassadors for Christ, here and now. That's what we're called, which is very interesting, because like we read from Hebrews, when has God ever told an angel to sit at my right hand? But we're seated in heavenly places. We're already enjoying a type of an ambassadorship on earth. We don't see it this way, but God has said it that way. So let's finish up with Daniel 3. In Daniel 3, Nebuchadnezzar sets up the big golden image. Thing is a monster, somewhere like 100 feet high, 60 feet across, something like that. Ridiculous dimensions of gold. When the sun hits it, it's like, oh. And he makes sure everybody in the country has to worship, fall down, worship the thing. If you don't, you die. So worshiping gold is not a new concept. He gets word, the king gets word, they blow in Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that they're not falling down and worshiping the way they're supposed to. They're bad citizens. And so Nebuchadnezzar calls for them. It literally says in one of the verses that he was furious, he was livid, because they were not worshiping the golden image, which all of us in this room might experience if we ever decide that we're not going to worship money. We might experience that. But in this case, the three guys get pulled in, and they're standing before Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel 3, verses 16, 17, and 18.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up.
I love that. It's like, okay, we get it. We're not stupid. We're not going to bow. So if you throw us into the furnace, you throw us into the furnace. If God sees fit to deliver us, great. If not, great. He knows what he's doing. But you can go to the bank on this one. I am not falling down and worshiping you. And the consequences are Nebuchadnezzar doesn't like that answer, actually. So it's like, okay. So he tells the guys to heat up the furnace 7 times hotter than usual. And when the guys who actually do the heating up, when they take Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they throw them in, it's so hot that all of those servants die. They're done. They're toast. So now we got Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego down in the fiery furnace. You guys know the story. Verses 24 and 25. You want to just read 24 and 25?
Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast these 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God.
I thought we put 3 in there, but I see a 4th one who looks like the Son of God.
Hey, boss, how many guys did we throw into the furnace? Well, it looks like 4 guys in there now, and one of them's real shiny.
Son of God was a term that was used long before the church started using it at the time of Christ. Son of God was a term that kings reserved for themselves. They saw themselves as sons of God, as the supreme rulers, as God himself kind of thing. So, looking into the fire, he says, I see one who's like the Son of God. Now, he's not looking at a golden calf. He's not looking at a bunch of something. He's looking at someone. He's like the 4th man in the fire. He's a man. But he's not like any man I've ever seen. He is, what'd you say? He's shiny? Really shiny. Point being, and this could be maybe the most important thing, or the nicest thing, the most encouraging thing I think I could say today. The 4th man in the fire. That we're never alone. The point we were saying before is that the messengers were task-oriented. That incarnation has a sense of task-oriented, of revealing God but being task-oriented, saying things and doing things. But the incarnation, it's more than just bearing good works and saying good stuff. It's being with us, now and here. Our friend, not servants, I call you friends, here on earth. In heaven, I'm not going to be calling you my friend. You're my bride. That's different thing. But for now, here, I will not abandon my friends and companions. When you're going through the fire, and you're going through the toughest thing you've ever gone through, I make you this promise, I will not leave you or forsake you. I am that 4th man in the fire. The first C that I gave you for the first point had to do with communication. The second one has to do with communion. That the work of the incarnation is direct communion. Not through the church, not through anything else, but direct communication. No matter where we are, no matter when. He says that where I am, you may be also, that we're always together. The last thing we're going to read today, John 17:24.
Father, I desire that they also whom you gave me may be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory, which you have given me. For you loved me before the foundation of the world.
It's all about the glory. We beheld his glory, Johnson. We beheld his glory. We saw him, the incarnate God in human flesh. The Word became flesh. And Jesus' prayer is, we beheld the glory. And he's saying, the glory that you've given me, I've given them, that we may be one, that where I am, they may be also. I in them, as you are in me and I am in you. Very, very strong on the glory in John 17. That they may be with me. When you put the Old Testament and New Testament, kind of things I've been talking about today, let's say Old Testament, New Testament, incarnation, if you would, it could read like this, what Jacob said, surely the Lord, my friend, the ladder, Ladder, the ladder is in this place. I know it. More than that, I know him. Because that's what God said. He will be with you. You shall call his name Jesus. God is with us, Emmanuel. Matthew takes on board. For he will save his people by being. Words and works, yes, but by being with us, for us, in us. We're no longer like Jacob that says, I didn't know. How awesome is this place? Now we say, we know. He's our friend and companion all the time. He's the fourth man in the fire. And he does tell us as friends. You couldn't ask for a greater communication than what he's given us of his love and everything else. So